sip it like I had etiquette. All right, welcome, you guys. Welcome. It is me, just Sylvie, just coming to sit with y'all a spell to give you some of that 414. You know, the one in the middle for some balance because you see things this way, I see things that way. And if we come together just to learn to have some effective communication, we may be able to at least learn to start understanding one another and respecting one another for our differences in opinions, our differences in the way we live our life, just our differences, just to have a mutual respect for one another because we got to be here together. Ain't no sense in you hating me, Virginia. I'm from Virginia. Welcome. Ain't no sense in you hating me for the way that I choose to live my life and me hating you for the way that you choose to live your life. But if you do hate me for the way I choose to live my life, I can't stop that either. I ain't in control of nothing but myself. But the goal here is always going to be to show you that there is another side because we are always going to see things differently. And somewhere in the middle, we can find a balance. And we even gonna talk about the middle, the mean. We gonna talk about that today. We gonna talk about that today. But look at here. I just want to start by saying this. When you make the mistake that you dealing with good people based off of how they act, based off of what they have, based off of how they dress, based off of how they look, and especially based off of how they talk, because we done talked about them good words of fair speech. And the people that's going to come to you because they looking good, everything looks the part. Things are not always what they look like. So you can find that you will be in the least disappointed. I am 51. In the least disappointed. At the most misused and abused because you feel like somebody is supposed to look a certain way to be able to tell you something or to be known or noticed for being truth speakers. And that's not always going to be the case. That's not always going to be the case. It's not always going to look like you feel like it should look. It's not always going to dress like you feel like it should dress. I was watching, what was I watching? Hey. I was watching probably maybe O'Shea Duke Jackson or not Dynamic Reason, Street Media TV. And they were speaking about Mark Lamont Hill having gone on, and I don't know if you know these people or not, but you can Google them. Mark Lamont Hill having gone on to the Joe Budden show. Joe Buttons is a podcaster on YouTube. Joe Buttons used to be a rapper, and he was also on the reality TV show Love and Hip Hop. Mark Lamont Hill is like a news analyst, and he's big into politics. So the young ladies, and I forget what the young ladies' names are, but they are, I've heard their names before. But the one young lady, the two young ladies, they had a podcast together. And this, it was O'Shea Duke Jackson, and he brought into view how even the young lady was disrespecting her podcast mate. That's why I say this channel is for women. And because this channel is for women, human design. No, I haven't. I was supposed to be talking about amendment, the 19th Amendment as well, and I didn't. Let me notate both of those right now. I can go in and look up human design if you want to give me a briefing of what it might be in the chat. But I did some research on the 19th Amendment, but I did not do it to the effect of speaking about it today. So human design, research, human design, and the 19th Amendment. And for the most part, when my chat asks something of me, if I don't understand what they talking about, I am going to go research. And like I said, I started researching the 19th Amendment because in my heart of hearts, I believe that the Most High has told me to educate myself, to gain knowledge of the different amendments. And I remember studying the Bill of Rights a little bit in school. We had to recite the preamble, but I wasn't like taking it in at that particular point. But these young ladies had a problem with the fact that Mark Lamont Hill was on. What the heck is a waffle stop? What's a waffle stop? These young ladies had a problem with Mark Lamont Hill because he went on the Joe Budden's podcast. And this is the first time that I've been on before. I'm normally on in the evening. But I feel like I've been charged by the Most High to be on in the morning. When I first started doing this, I was coming on 3 days a week at 9 a.m. Like I was so very faithful back then. Like when I say, and I was working a full-time job back then. Not working right now. I'm waiting on my disability to start. But I was working a full-time job. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning studying to prepare to be on here by 9 a.m. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even on YouTube at that particular point. I didn't come on YouTube until 2021. I was just on Facebook at that particular point. But I was on Facebook by 9 a.m. and I had to be to work by 12. But I believe that I have been charged to come on back and get up here. I believe in the morning. But what I'm doing with myself right now is trying to create the discipline of being here before noon, which is still in the morning. But I do believe that I'm probably supposed to be, I don't know, you got to ask Calvin Arson 7606. When I was working and doing this full time, I was working from home. I was working for a company doing as a, what is it? Answering service. I was working for a call center as an answering service, and I tend to believe that there's purpose in everything that the Most High leads me to do, and we're going to get back to Mark Lamont Hill because there's purpose in me speaking about that story. I tend to believe that there's purpose in whatever the Most High sends me to do, And when I say I was so, I'm going to tell this story before I look down at the chat, because every time I look down at the chat, I get distracted. I was so insensitive to answering services before I became one. I used to get upset and angry because I thought that they could do more for me than they could do for me, and that is not the case. And we were answering service. I was in answering service for multiple different companies, and this was during COVID, so it was hectic because I was doing things as far as COVID was concerned as well. Like when I say I had to just apologize out loud. I couldn't go back and apologize to the many answering services that I had given a hard time. I never got irate or anything like that, but I did give some a hard time because I thought that they could do more than they could do. They can't. All that an answering service, and this is for anybody out there who may need to know, all that an answering service can do, silence is golden. All that an answering service can do is take your message and pass it along to the company. They can't see your, they can't look into any of your accounts, any of your records, anything like that. They can just take your message and pass it along. So they were speaking of, O'Shea was speaking of the fact that the young lady was saying that Joe Buttons and Mark Lamont Hill didn't deserve to be on the same platform because of the demographic that they served. So she was not a fan because Joe Budden, look, you stay up here long enough, you're going to understand that there is a little bit hood in me, and I am not shrinking down for antibody. I will come up here from time to time and speak in Ebonics. A lot of times, I may use Ebonics as a language. Why? Because I am very, very confident in the truth that my vocabulary is pristine. My vocabulary is above board. My vocabulary ain't no joke. Period. But I also understand when some things are not even Ebonics. Some things, I hear people and see people writing and speaking, and it sometimes makes me cringe, and I don't care what color they are. I promise you that has nothing to do with the color. So the fact that you would degrade somebody because you feel like they're beneath somebody because they have a little bit of hood going on their podcast. And Joe Budden's, if y'all go and y'all look up Joe Budden's podcast, I don't give that information out. That's a little bit personal to me. But Joe Budden's podcast is very popular. Very popular on YouTube. And I'm always speaking of the fact that YouTube is the new TV. Whether people would like to understand it or receive it or not, it just is what it is. So when you are acting like this, like you have your nose up, and Joe Budden's is in his bag right now, and you don't like him because you feel like it's a little bit hood and it was beneath Mark Lamont Hill to go on and collab, how can we come to a like place? How can we gain that respect that I'm speaking about? How can we ever get the effective communication if we're going to look our nose up? My goal here is to have people on that I may not agree with, people that you may not agree with, and be able to come to some understanding. That's the goal here. I say it every time I come on. You're going to see things this way, they're going to see things that way. But if we come together with some effective communication, because the very person, the God has to stop me from going to this place. The very person that believes that they are going to make me feel less than or beneath them. I don't have any boyfriend. I've never had a white boyfriend. That is not my preference. Guess what? I never said that anything is not possible. That is not my preference. We get to have our preferences. And the people that get upset because you have people that get upset because black men don't like dark skinned women, or black men don't like light skinned women. Look, I'm getting ready to talk about the single season, so I'm not even looking for a man. We gonna talk about the single season up here today. I'm not looking for a man, and I believe that the Most High has advised me to go through my single season. Guess what? I got a story about Dubai today too, and I don't need nobody trying to fly me out. If I can't make it to Dubai because the Most High said I'm gonna make it to Dubai, you will not be flying me out. Thank you though. I appreciate it. I done heard some things that go down when they get to Dubai. That's what we gonna talk about. We gonna talk about that next, as a matter of fact. Cooking with Kaya is her name. Cooking with Kaya. But anywho, we can never get to a place where we are trying to gain understanding one of another if we don't have an effective communication. And you can't communicate if you're scared to go over here because you think that that person is beneath you, or you scared to go over here because you're intimidated by that person and the power that you feel like there should be no fear either. It shouldn't even just be about somebody being beneath you. Some people feel like, oh, they too popular, they too well known, or they got too much power. No. Wherever it is that the Most High say go, I'm going. Oh, I have to have my date of birth, my birth time. I do know it though. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool beans. I'm gonna look that up when I get off of this line. But yes, anyone who feels as though, like, if you feel like the young man came on the Kendra show the other day and was saying that he do feel like he's better than people. You're not better. Your circumstances may be better than another one. You may be better at something than someone else is. You are not better than another person. The moment you make yourself better than another person, that is haughty. And we talk about around here what the God does with the haughty. Cutting of the kite strings, buddy. Just think about what a kite does if the string breaks. Just think about that. I just watched that 911 the other day, and that little girl, that string, or the wind stopped. Something happened. The kite took up and it looked real AI-ish. First and foremost, it's a new 911. The kite done flew the little girl up into the sky, and they had to call 911 to figure out how they were going to catch her when she came down. However, whether the kite string was cut or not. But if you think about the kite string being cut, if you think that when the kite string get cut, especially if there's a wind, you are attached to the string. You're not attached to the kite, but either way, if you attach to the kite, you're going whithersoever way. If you attach to the string, you coming down. What you don't want to do is be on a high horse and have the Most High God have to bring you down, basically, is all that's saying. So I never walk around, and I am one thing for sure and two things for certain. The goal is 5 days a week. That's the goal. The newest goal is to make sure that I'm doing it before noon. So I'm going to pat myself on the back because I was on before noon. But I stated that I was faithful back in 2020 for a reason. And I tell my story. I've told my story a few times as I've gone live. I spent my story. People think I'm crazy when I tell my story. But my story brings me right here to this day with my own place. I spent the season homeless. I've left jobs for health and this platform. and people don't believe that you're supposed to do that. So my story has people thinking that I'm a little touched. But if I believe, thank you. If I believe, and I would love it if y'all would like, share, subscribe this day, this beautiful day. And I didn't say, y'all, I hope y'all are having a wonderful week. I did not say that. I came straight into the commentary and did not bid y'all a great week. I hope y'all are having a wonderful week. I hope your week has been great. If your week has been hard, if your week has been stressful, if your week has been tough, I do hope that it gets better for you. That is my truest goal. I just did my video about going to Kroger, and that young lady was having a bad day, and my day started off tough. My day started off tough. But when I went to Kroger and saw that that young lady was having a bad day, all that I tried to do was just give her a little bit of peace and a little bit of joy in that time. I just, you can't really give somebody peace because peace is within. So I'll change that and say it was my goal to make the experience as peaceful as I possibly could. So yeah, so I hope if your day, if your week ain't been going great, that it does get better for you. But yes, I have told my story as to going on the homeless journey. I spent some years homeless after I started this. And the Most High God did not allow me to stop when I was homeless. But after when I went homeless, I had my own place. I didn't lose my place. I did not lose my place. I know it, Tim and Donnie. I know it, and I believe it. And look, I have kind of part of when I get ready to read the word, I speak about not my will but your will, because that's what Jesus said when Jesus was up there on that cross. Lord, take this cup from me, if you would. Not my will but your will. If you like it, I love it, God. I don't want to do it. But whatever it is, that's how I felt about my journey. Whatever it is, I don't believe that God is going to call me to do anything evil. I don't believe that God is going to, my dream, Daisy, is really to fulfill the purpose that I believe that God has called me to. I'm gonna read this one. This that person right here, y'all. Whoo! This is my town, so get out. Said, I have the largest. Hold up. I have the largest home in town. I have the best roses, the best jewelry, the perfect family. 2 BMWs, only 2 in our state, excuse me. So don't nobody else in her state got BMWs. I am the pillar, and you're all jealous. Nobody has a perfect anything. And the person, thank you, and the person that walks around saying things like that don't feel as great about themselves. I was supposed to go back and watch that. Anywho, I didn't, so I ain't gonna worry about it. Don't feel as great about themselves as they would like for everybody to believe. You know, all of the hoopla that they putting out there about all of their BMWs and the best roses and, you know, the only 2 BMWs in the state and that we're all jealous. I'm jealous of no one. one thing for sure, two things for certain. I am not jealous of a soul. So let's talk about cooking with Kaya. Because that man asked me if he could fly me out to Dubai, and it brought up Cooking with Kaya. Cooking with Kaya is this young lady, and I'm just going to speak about this briefly because I don't really know her commentary or anything like that, but I know she does a lot of cooking, and I think that she, dances on her videos, and, she's all prettied up and everything on her videos, and, when you got your makeup on and your hair did and all of that good stuff like that, you're going to get some folk in your DMs, and don't let you be physically fit, because right now I done put on a little bit of weight. I done put on a bit of weight. Look, I don't hide no things from nobody. I used to smoke marijuana, and I smoked marijuana for a whole lot of years. And I even came to the place in life where I believe in my whole heart and spirit that God took it away from me. And I stopped several times before 2009 when I declare and decree that God took the taste from me at that particular point. God took the taste from me at that particular point. And once God takes something from you and you turn around and you go back to that thing, they say that thing brings along at least 7 demons, and trying to come out of that thing after that, ain't no joke, buddy, to say the least. So I had stopped several times prior to 2009, but in 2009, when those band of angels wrapped around me in a circle, and I was in the center of the circle, I was at a woman's, we were having discipleship classes at the church that I was going to, and I went to somebody that I loved and respected, and I was like, look, Miss Linda, I was like, I'm struggling with the marijuana, and I need God to do something about it. I don't know how to stop. And those women, it was about 9, 10, maybe 11 women surrounded me. They were in a circle around me. I was in the middle of the circle, and they just went to praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. And that night when I went home, I ain't try to go get no weed. And that next day I woke up, and I ain't try to go get no weed. And one of my friends came around there. He was my daughter and his daughter were really good friends. My daughters and his daughter were really good friends. They spent a lot of time together. He's a married man. He was a married man. He was more like a brother to me. We were January Capricorn babies together. So he was more like a brother to me. He used to get on my nerves. But he wound up bringing a blunt around there. And I told him I didn't want it. And it's crazy because he was in the living room with my daughters, and I was in the bathtub. And he's having a whole conversation with me from the living room to the bathtub, trying to get me to take this blunt so that I can smoke this blunt. And I'm telling him, no, I don't want this blunt. I was like, God took the taste out of my mouth. He started calling, oh, who are you? Shirley Caesar? You Shirley Caesar? Now, this is someone also who attests to being a Christian, having a relationship with God. And I don't step on nobody's toes about nothing, because we all have our walk. We all have our walk. And you have to stand in judgment, especially if you say that you walk in relationship with the Most High God. We all gonna have to stand before the Lord, but especially if you say that you walk in relationship, you're gonna stand in judgment, and God is gonna be like, why you do this and why you do that, and why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? Why you say this and why you say that, and why didn't you say this and why didn't you say that? You feel me? So I'm sitting here trying to tell this man that I don't want it. I don't want it. And he is trying to shove it in my face without even being in my face. And he told me he was going to leave it there. And I said, if you leave it there, I'm going to throw it away. So he went back and forth with me about leaving it there several times until he understood. I will definitely pray for you. Is there anything specific that you would like for me to pray about? If not, I will pray for you. Lord, I thank you. I bless you, oh God. I exalt you high above every situation and every circumstance. You alone are great and mighty. Decrease me right now, God, and increase in me. You know the heart, mind, and soul of Tamandani. I'm not quite sure if that's Tamandani's real name, but Tamandani just asked for prayer, oh God. So you know what Tamandani stands in the need of. You know Tamandani's most inner thoughts, desires. You know that thing that challenges Tamandani. I declare and decree right now that you move in that situation. That you remove anything and everything from Tamandani that is not like you. That you just continue to love Tamandani, to hide Tamandani under the shadow of your wing. That you strengthen Tamandani where Tamandani is weak. Your word says that when we are weak, you are strong, oh God. I bless you even right now that your word doesn't come back into Tamandani's life as void. Bless the family. Bless the home. Bless the workplace. Bless their community, oh God. Strengthen where you need to strengthen. Place faith where faith needs to be placed. Remove anything that needs to be removed even right now. I touch and agree with the prayers of Tamandani's heart and mind and soul as they are in line with your will and your perfect way. Create in Tamandani a clean heart and renew a right spirit in Tamandani, oh God. Have your way, and I will forever give your name the glory and the honor and the praise. In your holy and righteous name, I do pray, oh God. It is so. I have 2 babies. And Lord, we come to you on behalf of Daisy_folk. Because God, you impressed upon my heart. I was gonna take it offline, God. I was gonna take it offline. But you quickened my spirit real quick and said, go ahead on and pray. They asked you for prayer. Go ahead on and pray. So I thank you that you bless Daisy's house as Daisy blesses you. I thank you for every good and perfect gift from heaven coming down from you, oh God. I thank you, Lord, for giving her a heart of flesh and removing anywhere that there is a heart of stone. Lord, I thank you for continuing to just cleanse her from all unrighteousness. I thank you for every door that you open and every door that you deem necessary to close, oh God. You know the desires of her heart. So I thank you for blessing her with the desires of her heart according to her delight in you. Have your way in her life even right now. Allow your spirit to move ever so freely through her home. Bless her home. Bless her workplace, Lord. I don't know if there are children in either of the cases, but bless children, oh God. Cleanse them from the crown of their head to the soles of their feet. I glorify you for new life in that place, oh God. Have your way, oh God. Be glorified in her life, in how she moves, in how she walks, in how she talks, in how she eats, oh God, in how she loves. Have your way. And I'll forever give your name the glory, honor, and the praise. In Jesus' holy and righteous name, I do pray. It is so. Okay, y'all. So back to cooking with Kaya. So the story is out. Like, she was a lot of people make a lot of money on these social media streets, and God didn't tell me that I was gonna make no money right off the bat. You are so very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the blessings upon myself and my children. God quickened my spirit and said, pray now. God told me not to worry about. A lot of people ask me, well, you making money yet? You making money yet? I was making a little bit of change on Facebook, and then Facebook stopped paying for reels. And then just here recently, they began to pay for them again. So I'm making even more of even less of a little bit of change than I was making when I was making more change. But I belonged to a group that was helping to boost my content. So we had to share each other's content, and we had to like each other's content, and some of the content creators in that group were much bigger. They were already getting paid. So I wasn't getting paid before I went into that group, and I started to get paid as I went into that group. Like I said, a little bit changed. Now I couldn't even live off of it. It's even less change now, like I said. But the fact of the matter with now in comparison to then is the little bit of change that I'm making solely off of me. I don't belong to a group, and don't get it twisted. All of my blessings come from above. But I don't belong to a group that's pushing my content. People are beginning, I've been working, and I got a lot of videos out here. I got a lot. You are very welcome, and thank you. Thank you so much for the blessings on me. I have a lot of videos, but God told me not to worry about being paid, because there is something I want you to do. That's why I said the last time I left my job, I left for this platform. And I had just come off of the stint of homelessness. I had been renting a room for about a year and a half. Wasn't in a rooming house. I was living in a home with my landlord and her roommate. I loved them dearly. They were younger than my daughters. My landlord was Caucasian, and so was her roommate. And I used to tell them all the time how much they reminded me of my daughters. They was 21, and my daughters are 30 and up. I have two daughters, and they're both 30 plus. My baby girl actually just turned 30 in June, and my oldest daughter will be 33 in November. But when I left my job, I was still renting that room. And I talked to my landlord. My landlord, I was going live a lot more even then than I was. That's why I say, if y'all would, keep me in y'all prayers, that I would get my discipline where it's supposed to be here, because I do believe that I'm supposed to be live 5 days a week. I did. I was 18 when I got pregnant with my first daughter, and I was 21 when I got pregnant with my second daughter. And I'm proud to say that I'm not a grandmother, so they better than their mama, and that's always the goal. They are doing great. They said before they moved away from home that they would live with each other until they got married. So they live with each other right now. My oldest daughter used to work outside of the house, but they both work from home at this particular time. They have both been promoted several times on their jobs. They are in the call center world, but they are not on the phones. They do pre-authorizations, both of them. It's crazy. No. My oldest daughter does pre-authorizations, and my youngest daughter, I forget what but my youngest daughter trains classes and things like that, but I forget what her actual job title is. So yes, ma'am, I was young when I had them. I was young. Look, this platform is for women and the young to try to stray them away, to think twice about that thing. You don't just want to be out here just vibing and being led by your emotions. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that as well. Because it's go get your stuff right. That don't be out here, and I'm not gonna ever tell nobody don't have a boyfriend or anything like that, but don't be allowing yourself to be led by your emotions. You led by your emotions, you may end up in a place where you didn't desire to go, and things that the successes that you could have had, you may miss out on. And one thing for sure, and two things for certain, God ain't through with me yet. I have had family members to say, I believe you wasted your life. No, God say something different. God doing a thing even right now. Even right now. God is telling me, my uncle was trying to put me on it's Showtime at the Apollo at a young age because I sing. But God told me still keep singing. So I do that on these platforms as well. I'm working through fear. I have had people to tell me, you know, you have a really nice voice. I didn't always think that of myself. I was very, very fearful to sing in front of people. And my uncle was a part of that fear because he had me in a nightclub at 13 years old trying to get me on the Apollo. I have a little bit of a story. But the consensus was that this young lady, Cooking with Kaya, was going broke. And that's what the internet was saying. She was going broke. And then all of a sudden you see she's a content creator. So content creators are generally going to create content when they go in to vacay and things like that. They create in content. Not everybody, but a lot of times you gonna see the content creator creating their content. Even the ones that don't let you into their lives fully, when they go on vacation, you may see a picture or two of them or something like that. So it is said that she went to Dubai, and everybody is speculating now as to why she went to Dubai. And I forget what they call it, but these young women, there are young women being flown out to Dubai so that the men that fly them out there can have their way. And when I say have their way, I'm talking about some vile stuff. I'm talking about some vile stuff. I'm talking about, and look, let me, because I just prayed for y'all, so understand it. God knows his baby better than anybody. They are being shitted on. Literally. You are allowing a man to release excretions on you for money. For the love of money. People gon' go get flown out for the love of money. And they gon' let them move they bows all over them. People don't let money change you, almighty dollar. Why in the world would you want? Why would you want somebody to poop all over you? Why would you want somebody? And there was somebody on, because they played. It was O'Shea Duke Jackson. He played the video of people that were not in agreement with what she was doing, and also of people that were defending. Like, y'all know, if y'all can go out there and get flown out and let them poop all over you, you would. No. Look, that sounds like, you say you just coming off of the breakup. So how long? 5 years. Oh, 5 years. So y'all been broke up for 5 years. Breakups ain't no joke. I was with my children's father for 15 years. We were married for 9 of those 15 years. We were together in high school. And I spent, this is what I did. And I still believe that God is calling me into a single season, as I stated earlier when the young man was offering to fly me out to Dubai. When we first broke up, it was, they say that, especially divorces, but I'm not going to take it away from, anytime you with somebody for a long time, so I'm not going to take it away from a long relationship. But breakups are like death. What's so pretty? What's so pretty, John List? What, John Slick? What's so pretty? Breakups can be like death in a sense, because you have to mourn it. You have to go through the feelings and the emotions of not being with that person. And men go through it as much as women. I promise you that. Men are going to a lot of times be haughty and not want to cry about it. And we're going to talk about a story that really, really saddens me. Y'all see the name of the title, and I normally announce that in the beginning too. A Tale of Two Stories, Truths and Commonalities, because two of these stories that I'm going to talk about, and I'm gonna read the word, and then I'm gonna talk about them. I'm gonna go over one more. I'm gonna start the singles thing, the single season, after I finish speaking on Cooking with Kaya, and respond to you, Daisy. It took me years. It took me. We were divorced in 2005. We separated in 2004. I can't say I was good on being a divorced woman until about 2016. Yeah. It was a lot. He was the father of my children. Like I said, we had been together for an entirely lot amount of years. And I know people do way more than 15, but as a teenager, giving somebody 15 years of your life, that's a lot, you know. And we are intertwined because our families became intertwined. So they intermingle with my family more than I intermingle with theirs. And I say that because if we have, like, they haven't had a lot of death in their family, and we have, and they are always, for the most part, there. My ex-husband and his mother are always there. I still consider his nieces and nephews my nieces and nephews, so I still have communication with them and everything like that. So, but as far as working on me, when I mourn that marriage, although as women, a lot of times we feel like if men cheated, they are just the most horrible people, and we are somewhat the best people, as if there is not a self-reflection that needs to go on. That couldn't be farther from the truth. So I made sure that I reflected self. I made sure that I spent a lot of time with myself and what I could learn to do better the next go around. Well, that's good. I mean, that's good if you don't want them no more, because I don't know why y'all broke up or anything, but if it's been 5 years, it don't look like it's no going back. But it takes some time sometimes to say that you don't want them no more. That's all. That's my whole thing. It took me some time before I could say that I did not want my ex-husband anymore, but I still had to make sure that I was reflecting so that I could be better for it. I had to look at my flaws. I watch a show called Kendra G. That's one of the stories we're going to talk about. I got 2 Kendra G stories, but one of the ones that's a part of that title is just a sad one. But what she asks Every man or woman that comes on her platform is to name 3 flaws, and oftentimes they are projecting instead of in doing introspect. So they may name a flaw that has something to do with the people that they've dated or something like that. Instead of a flaw is not, well, I can't think of one right off the bat, but she's going to get on people when their flaws are not introspective. A flaw is something about you that you can do better. And when you are great with saying that you don't have no flaws, that's what I got when I just read that comment from that commenter who had the perfect life and the perfect roses and the perfect 2 BMWs that was the only one in the States. She sounds like she woke up like this. She woke up like this. Flawless. And that's delusional. We always have something that we can be working on. Always have something that we can be working on. So that's why God has me in this single season. And I believe that I am in the part of my single season right now where God wants me, I've done introspect. But God wants me to create disciplines. There are disciplines. This is one of the disciplines. God wants me to be faithful to this platform. So I'm creating disciplines. I've looked at myself and what I could have done not to create a place where my ex-husband cheated. I don't blame myself for him cheating. That was a choice he made. But guess what? I cheated too. He cheated more. And he cheated from the beginning. But I cheated too. So I can't really look down my nose at him because I did the same thing. And the same way that I say that they can leave, we can leave. So if we choose to stay, that's our choice. If we choose to make poor choices with them, that's our choice. We can't then put that on them. So I had to look separately, apart from the cheating, at what I could have done to be better in a marriage, just to be better in a marriage, because I was not the perfect wife. And that's aside from me cheating. I was not the perfect wife. And nobody can ever be perfect. But when I say I was not the perfect wife, there were things that I could do better if the Most High God takes me into that place again. But if not, I always tell people I'm good. I'm good with not going into that place again. But I want these young ladies to know that they don't have to be being flown out. Like, money is good and money is needed. But when we make money the center of everything that we have to do, we have to have the most perfect roses and the 2 BMWs and the perfect family and all that stuff like that. If we don't, there are people with that thought process that don't have a husband or a wife. And so that means that they are dependent on money and finances. And that, when you're dependent on that, when that is the focus, then you more apt to go out there and do what you got to do to get money. What you say, huh? Get money. What you say, huh? Get money. What you say, huh? Get money. I don't own the rights to any of this music that you will ever hear me break out and just start singing or rapping. And I do it. That is what I do. I don't own the rights to it. But when you got to go out there and do everything, we get ready to talk about this first young lady on Kendra G, and then we're going to get into this word that's going to tell you about the rich. We came into the conversation and I ain't even began to read the word about it yet. That first young lady on Kendra G, Kendra G wound up telling her that she needed to go into a single season. Not before telling her that she didn't need to heal. Because the cousins, Kendra G's chat is called the cousins, and the cousins, when this young lady finished talking, the cousins told her She needs to heal. And Kendra G said, well, no, I don't think she need to heal. And I paused it. Because I like to pause. When I'm not, if I ain't watching it on live, I can pause. Well, you can pause a live too and just come back to where you were. But if I ain't watching it on live, I get the pause thing. So when Kendra G says I don't think she need to heal, I paused it. And I went into prayer. Well, Lord, this young lady says that she was emotionally dependent. Those were her words. And she then went on to say that it is not just in relationships with men, but in all my relationships. And this platform also harps on the Most High God said that we cannot be controlled by our emotions. Not that we don't got to have them. Not that we don't have our emotions. God say have your emotions. Just don't allow them to control your life. Because when emotions control your life, then you move emotionally. Everything you do is done based off of your emotions. So you go and you uproot your 12-year-old son. This is what that young lady did on Kendra G. Her name is Lay. And I'm going to tell you what happened after I unpaused it when I came out of prayer. But let me tell you what she did. She uprooted her son from Baltimore and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, because that young man told her to come on down there to Charlotte and come move down here so we can go ahead and have relations in Charlotte. And Kendra G was like, well, he didn't have a place for you to stay. No, I had my own place and he had his own place. Well, he asked you to move from Baltimore and didn't want you to move in with him. Yeah, and as soon as I got to Charlotte, things just started going awry. The relationship just started just dwindling. But I don't believe that he had another woman or another man or another partner. But the relationship just started going downhill. And I uprooted my son, and I just moved my son away from his father who was in his life to go and chase after a situationship. Because Kendra thought it was a relationship, but I heard the young lady when she said situationship, and so did the cousins. Kendra be having so much on her mind that she don't always be hearing what the people be saying. But the cousins and the people that's watching and can pause, they be hearing. So I heard when it was a situationship and Kendra started calling it a relationship, and I was like, well, Lord, why is Kendra calling it a relationship? And the young lady said it was a situationship. So you did all of that to follow and chase after a man who, when you got where he was at, no longer wanted what he said he wanted because you were led by your emotions and you are emotionally dependent on people. So I went into prayer and I said, Kendra, Lord, Lord, Kendra is a journalist who runs a dating show and has a dating app. She is not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Now, I'm not licensed, but I can go over there and get that there DSM. That was upon my homeless journey as well. I was actually staying in a homeless shelter when I came across this DSM that God would not allow me to part from. The DSM is the book that tells you about mental illnesses and mental disorders. It is the book that psychologists and psychiatrists use to determine mental illness and mental orders, and the treatments and what's the word I'm looking for? Symptoms that describe different mental illnesses and mental disorders. And the DSM is about this big, and the DSM costs $500 to $600 a pop. So I was working in a social service building. I was doing janitorial work in the social service building, and I saw this book, and I didn't know at that particular time, and I had heard of the DSM before, but it didn't click in my brain what I had before me. And so I get this book, and I take it back to the homeless shelter. And before I can get in the door good, the supervisor, me and her had a good rapport at first. We had a good rapport at first, and then, How to do what, Daisy? I'm not quite sure how to do what. I'm gonna tell the story and then give you a chance to put that back in the chat. Put it back in the chat how to do. Salutations. I love my melanin. Thank you for the shout out, my melanated. I'm gonna assume sister right back at you. Let me see. Let me see. I didn't read the name. I read the comment. I'm gonna assume that Shane Legs is my melanated sister right back at you. But before I could get in that door good, Miss Washington was trying to buy my DSM. As soon as I went up to the counter, she was like, I need to buy that from you. I was like, I need to buy that from you. She said, let me show you. And she turned her computer around and she was online searching for a DSM because she had come out. She was working for social service before she came to the homeless shelter. And she had to come out because she became, she had cancer. So she had to leave work. When she left work, they sold her DSM. They thought it was theirs, or gave it away, or threw it away, something. They didn't sell it. They gave it away or they threw it away. They thought it was theirs, and it was her actual DSM that she had purchased. So she was trying to get another DSM. And a new DSM had come out. I think I have 4, volume 4. And they threw that one away because volume 5 was coming out. Miss Washington, who was a supervisor, you don't have to have volume 5. They ain't do nothing but make a few updates. They still allow us to have volume 4. She was willing to give me $300 at least for that DSM. I said, no. I said, God don't want me to depart from it. I said all of that to say I never claimed to be licensed. But my therapist told me that I was a therapist. I'm always going to suggest, if there is not work that you can do on your own, that you go sit down with a therapist. I'm always going to say, and young man said that because men, we're going to talk about that in the story, about how men, they say mental illness, but I think it's mental illness to negate treatment for your mental. I think it can be the biggest mental illness and the heaviest mental illness to negate treatment. And treatment being something as little as crying. We're going to talk about the man that didn't want to cry. But I tell you, if you can't do it on your own, my desire is to speak a word that may encourage, that may make you want to desire introspect. But if you cannot do it on your own, and sometimes it gets so heavy, I have to bless God right now that after watching the story that we're going to talk about after I read this word, that I was able to come in and still be lighthearted and able to come in and thank you again, Dixie, because I don't think I thanked you when I read your comment to say that I was humble. I don't walk around saying I'm humble, but I will receive it when someone gives it to me, because my pastor told me if you got to say you humble, then you probably not. What you walk around, look, I learned that early. If you got to walk around saying that you're a Christian or wearing shirts that say you're a Christian, there's challenges there. But enter who? Yes, I had that DSM. Yes, I do not want women to be thinking that they have to be flown out to be getting pooped all over. And yes, when I went back from pause, that young lady said, well, Kendra, I think I agree with the cousins. I do need to heal. She made Kendra change her tune. But I prayed, and God, she do need to heal, and Kendra need to not be telling her that she don't need to heal, because that's a lie that the devil told right there. She's emotionally dependent, meaning she's led by her emotions. And this is why, look, I love watching Kendra. But anytime I love you, if I can't tell you something good, bad, or indifferent when I love you, Kendra sat up there and said to one of her guests, I was trying to get off the live, but you asked me the question. You wanted to smoke, so I gave you the smoke. No. She watched your whole body language the entire time you was up there. And the woman she was something else. But if we are in the professional spot, that's why I said Kendra is a journalist who does a dating app. Some of her ways are emotional as well. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how many BMWs you got. I don't care how many flights that you can just hop on. Mental illness and mental disorders and emotionalism and challenges do not negate anyone, and anyone who thinks that they do is sadly mistaken. Sadly. So I am so glad that Lay came on and said, nah, I think I agree with the chat. I think I agree with the cousins, Kendra. I do need to heal. And that's when Kendra went into, you need to be in your single season, because then the young lady went on later to say that she was thinking about giving the man a little bit of booty. She was thinking about giving him booty, and you don't need to do that. You need to hold that to yourself, and you need to not allow that to get over you. But she's emotional. She said, I don't just be thinking about sex like that. It's him. She was caught up. She was head over heels in lust and situationshipness with someone who did not feel the same way. And we ladies, I say it time and time again. When they getting your booty, they just getting your booty. When we giving the booty, a lot of times we is getting caught up with our emotions, especially when it's good. Especially when it's good. Our emotions become involved in that thing. So now you're telling her she need to keep the booty away, but ain't that healing? That's healing. You got to be able to heal from that space. You cannot heal unless you look within. Emotionalism is within. Emotionalism is within. Now we about to read this word. We about to read this word, and then we're going to talk about these men. Whew, that story is heavy. This story is heavy. And this is something in my mind, in my spirit, that the Most High is saying speak about, because like I said, men will talk about mental illness, but then they don't want to go get treated. And all too often you're going to hear a man say, I'm just going to go to Jesus. God knows I love Jesus. I talk about how much of a G Jesus is on a regular basis. The Most High God said, let this mind be in you, which was in the Christ. But God gave you a dentist. God gave you an orthopedist. God gave you a cancer doctor. I forget what the cancer doctor is called. God gave you an optometrist and an ophthalmologist for your eyes. God gave you a gastroenterologist. God gave you an array of doctors for a reason. And y'all hardy asses don't want to think that God gave you a doctor for your brain, for your mental. What I want you to do, and I tell everybody this, what I want you to do when you go get a therapist is make sure that your therapist has been therapied. That's what the man said when they told him he needed counseling. He was like, I need to know that the therapist got a therapist, talking to a therapist is talking to a therapist, period. Period. They ain't getting therapy or ever been therapied, you might need to stay away from that therapist. This teacher has a therapist. And my therapist has a therapist. Now, I have not gone into her therapist to see if they have a therapist. But I asked my therapist a question. I asked my therapist a question. Now let me get over here and get to this word right quick. I'm gonna read the word. Oh, yes. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say one thing, because I've talked about the happy wife, happy life. I tend to think so. I tend to think so. Life be lifing. That's what back there by up there by my life board. The words beside my life board say life be lifing. Period. Sometimes your brain feels like it wants to break. Sometimes your insides feel like they can't take life no more. And some people go to the point where they can't take life no more, and money don't keep them from it. God rest his soul, Robin Williams, who had less of a smile on their face than Robin Williams. He was always somewhere smiling and goofy. Breathe, girl. Sometimes you gotta breathe till that heart rate come down. Cause sometimes when I get excited, it's a breathing moment. Cause the heart rate be going up. But I be talking about the happy wife, and the man need to be happy too. Like, this is not just about us. Tasha K said this today before I came on. Happy wife, happy life. She said, sometimes, ladies, so that you can get the best out of this relationship, sometimes you just need to shut the F up. Sometimes you just need to shut the F up and say yes. And that's in all kinds of situations and circumstances. Marriages work for the both of you. So if you just got to be the happy wife and he just got to bend to your every whim, I talk about it. But okay, we're going to read Proverbs 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Agar said, give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Let me swallow some water, Lord, right quick, y'all, before I start. And welcome. If y'all just coming in, y'all like, share, and subscribe. I would love it. I would love it. This was the prayer of Agar. And I may be pronouncing, because I said Agar first, but Agar or Agur, Agurs. He was a sage. Y'all want to know what a sage is? A wise man. When the wise men speak, you best put your listening ears on and get the listening. You better catch it. I said that in a long time. You better catch it. Let me read that again. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Vanity and lies is what Lay was fed to get her to uproot her baby from one state to another. But she ate that vanity and those lies up because her emotions did not allow her to think critically before she made that move. So now she's making the best out of Charlotte. But was she really supposed to leave Baltimore? I'm so heavy on purpose, and God will allow it. That's what free will is. God know the end, but God gonna allow you to make every move. And if you keep moving further and further away, God gonna be like, ain't nothing I can do. But if you are walking in the purpose of what God would have for your life, and that's my dream. I don't say everything that I believe that God is moving, the directions that God is moving me in. But the things that I believe that God has purposed in my life, it is my dream, my desire, and my focus to be diligent in them, to get the disciplines that I need. Like I said, I was waking up at 4 a.m. in order to do everything that God has on this schedule, even because people think because you ain't making money that you ain't doing work. That's a lie that the devil told. I have a hectic schedule that I am working at getting the disciplines back in order, because once I went into a homeless status, it threw my brain for a loop. But as I stated, when I left my place, I didn't owe no rent. When I gave up my job for my health, I didn't know I was getting ready to go homeless. I was in that place for 3 months after I gave up my job, still paying rent, and I wasn't giving up no booty. God was making ways for me. And when I left that place, I got a deposit back. But that's when I started the homeless journey, because I said yes to giving up my health, giving up my job for my health. So that's what my dream is to get everything back in line and to get the disciplines that I need to do the things that God is calling me to do in this season. There are some things that I just sat down and had a talk with God and say, Lord, there's a few things that I'm declaring and decreeing before the end of this year. But God has also said to me that you gotta be quiet sometimes. Silence is golden. Somebody put that in, and that's something I've had to learn, because I'm not always silent, especially about the things that God would not want me to discuss with everybody. How would God get the glory if I'm discussing everything with everybody? You said, why do people go to hell? I would say because their spirit is separated from God. Anyone whose spirit is separated from God. Some believe that you're living in hell right now. But that would be my answer to that question. And look, this study said that Agar did not distrust the divine power to keep him in any state. I don't distrust God. If God want me to be rich, I don't distrust God. If God want me to not be rich, I don't distrust God. I distrust me, is what he said. I distrust me and how I would handle things. You feel me? Said it's best taken subjectively as a supplication for personal truthfulness and sincerity in all relationships, both toward God and men. If you are walking around, someone asked me before what it meant to be conceited, because conceited is a great form of vanity. Vanity is going to have an outward appearance of confidence. That's a lie in and of itself, because it's not confidence. If you are not doing self-reflection, you are more apt to be vain and haughty and prideful than confident, and you are more apt to take in anything that anybody is feeding you, even when you think that you don't. Because you think you know it all, so it's not going to be the truth unless you think it's the truth. It's not going to be a lie unless you think it's a lie. And that's a distorted way of thinking about things. Says a professing Christian who finds pleasure in vanity and lies, not that does not do things wrong, who finds pleasure in it, which is the difference between having a spirit of conviction, and just thinking everything you do is okay. When your parents was raising you, or whoever raised you, because I wasn't raised by my parents, they didn't ever have rules and regulations, things that were okay to do and things that were not okay to do, things that would get you punished, things that disappointed them, things that might bring you the rod, because in my day and age, you got a rod. Spare the rod, spoil the child was a real thing. And even in my daughter's day and age, I'm not saying I ain't never spanked my daughters. I'm saying that it was a rarity. My mother never really spanked me while I was in her care. I can count the number of times that my mother has disciplined me physically. And one of them was with her fist to my face. When I say my mother wasn't a violent person, but she felt very disrespected, even though she did not raise me. I told you my parents didn't raise me. I smacked my teeth. She said something. As soon as I smacked my teeth, bow, to let me know I'm still your mother. I don't care what you feel like I'm going through in life. I don't care that you are not living with me right now. You will respect me as such. And I tell that story just like that, and always will tell that story just like that. She kicked me in my back once because I was talking about her prodigal child, the middle child. She kicked me in my back. And she spanked me twice with a belt because I cut up in school. So that was 4 times in life. 4 times in life. Even though I wasn't raised with her, I still spent enough time with my mother that if she was going to spank, she punched me and I won't live with her. She let me know it all given on any opportunity that I was your mother. But my mother was not a physical person. And so I took that from her. My ex-husband did more physical discipline than I did. And I used to have to step in the way of some of that because I don't even understand, because his mother wasn't a physical person either. But a professing Christian who finds pleasure in vanity and lies demonstrates the true condition of his heart and makes it plain to every spirit-taught soul that he is still a stranger to the new birth. If you find pleasure in it, if you don't find any guilt in what you're doing, if you find everything that you do is right, because if your parents set rules and regulations in place and you just did what you wanted to do and did not care what your parents said, then that exhibited a lack of respect for their rules and their regulations, and hence a lack of respect for them. That's all this saying. If you find pleasure in your vanity and your lies, if there is no guilt and there is no self-introspect to want to do better and to make strides to do better, vanity is outward. Vanity is outward, so you're taken by it. And what you don't want to do is be taken by your vanity and your lies, because it's leading you further and further in a direction away from God. It's rules and regulations everywhere. You have rules and regulations, hence the reason why you have police. So why would we think it any different with the Most High God? Why is it that the Most High God can't have rules, regulations, and standards? You had to follow rules in your household. You got to follow the rules of the government, of the state that you're in, of the county that you're in, of the country that you're in. And some of these countries' rules and regulations make ours look like none. God not the God of the United States. But we are great to think that everything we do, every pleasure that we want to feel is okay. No consequences. God showed us grace. God does show us grace. But not for you to sit in a place and never want to do anything different. Not for you to think that it's okay to walk outside of the will of God. Not for it not to pound your chest like you was doing something wrong. no. Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell no. To the no, no, no. Vanity is inward hollowness. That's why it's exterior. Vain people have to tell you how great their roses are. Vain people have to tell you that they have the only two. I don't even know what state they stay in. That there's only 2 BMWs in that state. Vain people have to tell you they have a perfect family. Vain people have to make it look good. Didn't I say it in the beginning of this that you want to watch out for those people? You think that you're dealing with good people because they look good and because they dress good and because they got the best 2 BMWs in the state and the greatest roses in the front of their yard and their family is perfect. And they got the bestest clothes on. They the good people. I done talked about what those people do when they go and get behind those closed doors. They just shrink down because, oh my God, I feel so ugly. And oh my God, I feel so empty. And oh my God, I feel so worthless. And oh my God, I feel so dead on the inside parts that I just have to make everybody else think that I'm the bestest and the flyest and the prettiest and the sexiest. I'm just all of that and 2 bags of chips. That's vanity. Says it's hollowness. And what else? Worthlessness. I didn't say it, the study did. And lies are the expressions of this in words. Didn't I say if you is vain, then that is a lie in and of itself. Lies are the expression of your hollowness and worthlessness in words. Run tell that in my Martin voice. You're empty on the inside. You're hollow. You're feeling worthless. It says it's promising pleasure, profit, liberty, and impunity. I ain't getting in trouble for nothing. And that ain't even the truth. P. Diddy. I could probably name some more. Vain thoughts removed out of his mind. This is what the prayer. This is what Proverbs 8 was gearing toward for Ager. For vain thoughts to be removed out of his mind, vain words from his mouth, and vain actions from his life. Conversation, to have his life and conversation, to have his eyes turned from beholding vanity and his feet from walking in it. Because because we ain't even begin to talk about the riches, because we think that because we out there going to get the bag and because we want these riches, we can handle it. And you don't know what the rich people had to go through to get rich. He didn't want his feet to walk into any of that vanity and lies. Said affections taken off from the vain things of the world. I don't want to love the BMWs so much that I have to tell people that they're jealous. I don't want to love this perfect family of mine that ain't no telling what's going on behind them closed doors because that person felt the need. I don't even know if that person was trolling or if this person was serious that we are all jealous. Or if this person was giving an example of the person that I was talking about, because I had already started talking about that person. But those people exist. The vain things of the world, the lust, the pleasure, the profits, and the honor of the vain things of the world. He wanted to be kept from all errors and all false doctrines. Everybody that stand up in your pulpit, because that's where some of the best dressed and the best having things, and then they going to tell you that you is wrong because you brought them $1,200 Marvin Winans and you brought it out of turn when he is going absolutely and positively, and I normally say absolutely and positively, outside of what scripture calls for with an offering. You have so many of the haughties standing up in your pulpit, and the people just be following them and letting them lead them right into a ditch. The errors and false doctrines, which are lies and hypocrisy, with which men that lie in wait to deceive the world, if it were possible, deceive the very elect. Who are the elect? The people that sit down and truly are following God, but sometimes you get caught up because you love a person. The elect are the people of God. The men that lie in wait to deceive would deceive, if it were possible, deceive the elect. And I do believe that it says that because it can be possible to deceive the elect. Because sometimes we fall short as the elect. That's why this is a prayer. This is a statement of wisdom for God to remove the vanities. And don't give me too much riches, Lord. I don't want everybody talk about not wanting poverty. No, how many people you hear say they don't want too much rich? Don't make me too rich. Don't give me too much money. Don't give me too much power. Don't give me too much things and stuff. Money, power, respect, what you need in life. Money, power, respect, you be eating right. Money, power, respect, sleep at night, you'll see the light. It's the key to life. Money, power, respect. Age is conscious of his own weakness. Are we conscious of our own weaknesses? Our flaws? So many of those people be saying they don't have no flaws. Or they don't work on their flaws. And Kendra got to say, you got some flaws. Because the moment you don't have flaws, you then become perfect. You then become Jesus. The man was up there saying that he was Jesus. And we don't know what Jesus is going to look like, but that's almost like saying you humble. If you're just walking around saying I'm Jesus, I don't think Jesus is going to come saying I'm Jesus. I'm thinking that Jesus is going to be moving and acting in a way that you're going to know. And if you are covered in the things of God and ensuring that you are wanting God to remove all vainness and lies, all vanity and lies, you're going to be sure that now false prophet, and I ain't talking about the ones running around in the pulpit, I'm talking about the one that's going to come and say that it's Jesus. You're going to be sure that it ain't. Adrian was conscious of his own weakness and proneness to evil. We just want to think that it's not evil unless it's something we don't like, but we don't never want to look at ourselves and reflect that we can do evil as well. Or we want to see what we do is not as bad as somebody else, so we don't even want to consider it evil. And I have talked about this evil word and Told people, go look it up. Desires the Lord would not lead him into temptation, but deliver him from all evil, doctrinal and practical. So I don't want nobody coming in front of me trying to give me your word that's evil. And I don't want to be taken up by the evils of this world. That's that practical. I don't want to be taken up by the evils of this world. I got a little bit of, excuse me, my bad. Now, as far as this riches and poverty, I talk about the land of totally all the time. You are living in the land of totally if you are far right. You are living in the land of totally if you are far left. We don't talk about far left a lot. But if you are far left, and this, I'm talking politics, you are living in the land of totally if you are on either of these extremes. Riches and poverty, both extremes are deprecated. Both extremes are deprecated. The mean, the middle, that's what I talk about. You want to be as close to not be living in the land of totally. You want to be as close to balance as possible. Mean is the middle. Mean is the medium, excuse me, when you're thinking about math. The mean is the safest and the happiest. Not too rich, not too not rich. Because poor can also be your mindset, even poverty. Impoverished is also a mindset. We're going to talk about the impoverished mind after I finish with this. We're going to talk about the impoverished mind, and we're going to talk about that story that, had me heavy before I came up here. So I even thank the people that asked for prayer, because I believe that the prayers helped me to come back to center as well, come back to the mean. All enlightened men must be aware of calamities and greatness, of the temptations attendant on wealth, luxury, and honor. Temptations. Biggie said, more money, more problems. More money, more problems. It is often said in my hearing, you never know what someone did to get where they are. So if you are harping on, I want to be like that person, and you don't know what they did to get all of those BMWs and best roses and perfect family, could be asking for more than is meet. Asking for some, be careful what you ask for, because the God will give it. And the shrinking, on the other hand, at poverty and want. They have given the largest share of happiness to the middle ranks of society. The shrinking under the hand of poverty is that impoverished mindset, because joy is mine, saith the Lord. So a lot of times if we have an impoverished mindset, it's probably because we learn that behavior. And so we're walking around miserable because we don't got that person. It's probably going to be the person you got walking around miserable because you're looking at what other people got instead of appreciating what you have. I don't have what other people have, but I have what I have. And I know that I've been blessed to have what I have. So I'm not shrinking under, and I'm certain that I live under the poverty line. I don't got no money. I don't even have a job, right? I'm waiting on this disability. But I'm not shrinking under the want and sinking into an impoverished mindset. Not as I will, but as thou wilt. is the same. They compared that to give me food that is sufficient enough. I don't want to get too much where I forget about you. The verses go on to say, I don't want to get too much where I forget about you, Lord. And I don't want enough where I'm going to feel like I'm hating you. Not my will, but your will. Give me food that is sufficient. It also compares what Paul said, I have learned in whatever state that I am in to be content. I am content with where you have me in life right now, oh God. If it is your desire for more to come, more gonna come. Why? Because I'm an attraction magnet. I attract. But right now, while I'm where I'm at, I'm good. That's all that God be wanting. I'm good. I'm good. Because a lot of times it's said that even when they have a lot, they still ain't content. They want more. That's where greed comes in it. That's where greed comes in it, because they want more. Happy is the man who alike fears, happy is that man who alike fears the wanton insolence we see in the rich and the continual murmuring among the ungrateful poor. That basically just said what I said. You rich, you want more. You poor, you miserable because you poor. Y'all got that alike, in common. It's the commonalities of it all. But you think that there are no commonalities. Especially the person with money going to look down their nose at the poor, and the miserable poor is going to turn their nose to the rich. That's why I say I don't do jealousy. I cannot, Dawn. I cannot. But it is most unusual to find one who dreads wealth and prays to be kept from riches. You gonna pray to be kept from being poor, but you ain't gonna pray to be kept from. You think you can handle it? Can you handle it? Can you go there, baby, with me? You can't handle the money. In my Jack Nicholson voice. You think you want the money, but you can't handle the money. Especially if you ain't did the brain work. Because you ain't did the brain work and your mind is still impoverished, you're going to be taken by greed. You can still fall into a depressive state with all of that money because you thought the money was going to make it better. Okay. So we're going to talk about this story that I watched on Dynamic Reasons, and then we're going to talk about this last young lady on Kendra. And then I'm done, y'all. God told me to make things light, and sometimes it feels really, really hard to make things light. So this was a father, and he had 5 children, and he had a wife, and he was in the Iraq war. And I have heard it said plenty that people come back from those wars, whether it be Iraq, whether it be Vietnam, and they suffer mental challenges. Men all too often do not want to go get help. The young lady asked the man on Kendra G last night, have you ever or would you cry in front of your mate? And when I say he got harder standing there, I don't cry. And by the time she drug it out of him, if it came down to it, because you just think that you can go and fix everything. And all I kept saying was, "Who, Lord? I ain't even trying to be funny. God forbid that he has to do without that person that is his person. That person don't got to be your wife. Or that person could be your parent. That person could be your child. All I be saying is, Lord, help me, because I want to go first, Lord. I want to go first. Take me first, because I don't want to know what it feel like. Because I know people who had to live with being without their children and their spouse. My sister, her children and her spouse, all at one time. all at one time. But these men are so strong that they don't want to cry and they don't want to go sit down in chairs, and they think that they can fix everything because they pushing it down. That's what one man said. I just push it down. He didn't even want to answer the question. When the girl said therapy, he popped the balloon. He said, because I just push it down. That's not fixing it. Pushing it down is waiting for you. You are a ticking time bomb when you push it down. This man went to the Iraq war. And when I tell you, when stock market, this is Dynamic Reasons. Go check them out. All the names that I have named. O'Shea Duke Jackson, Street Media TV, Tasha K, Dynamic Reasons, Kendra G. Go check them out. When stock market Steve, because all of his stories, I talk about Cash Flow Harlem and how most of his stories are going to end up in somebody not being here at the end of the story. Dynamic Reasons as well. But Dynamic Reasons, 9 times out of 10, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, he is coming at the necks of the people who commit these heinous acts. He couldn't even or didn't even come at this man's neck. He said, you can't say that someone unravels. You can say whatever you want to, but to say that someone unravels and then say that you don't understand why they did their thing is kind of contradictory, because they did their thing because they unraveled. So we have a veteran from the Iraq War, where his uncle said he was challenged after he came back from the war. He was married. It did not say how long he and his wife were together, but his stepson was 18, so his wife had an 18-year-old son. I forget what they said the ages were of their other children. So you have the war, and then in 2023, he loses his dad in a car wreck. And then in 2024, he loses his wife. And when Dynamic Reasons first talked about him losing his wife, he didn't go into the story. After he went, it's like he did the story in 2 parts, maybe, because he got hold of the 911 call. His wife was pregnant. And I go to the comments sometimes, and people in the comments can be so harsh, like they know what they would do in situations, and damn people to hell. It just, commenters, like people, I understand the concept why people are always saying, you can be kind. I just made my video to say kindness doesn't cost you anything. Compassion and understanding, they don't cost you anything. But the 2 things being true at once. Lady, if it's on public social media, it makes it to public social media, you cannot tell someone how to speak, what to say, or anything to that effect. When Steve was telling the story, I was glad to hear him say he felt like it was some kind of religion that they were following, because I had said it at some point for something that he said before he got there. But the wife was pregnant, and she bled out. She was having a miscarriage and bled out. So now he has the Iraq War. Your dad got killed in an accident, unalived in an accident. Your wife was unalived because she had a miscarriage that took her out. And Steve was like, sometimes as the leader, you just have to take the reins. But he also said that he believes that this was some kind of religious practice where they did not want to involve the medical practitioners. They wanted to do holistic things and things like that, but she was miscarrying. And if there was no midwife there, then that, like, the midwife, the midwife normally somebody that thinking about naturalistic things as well. The one midwife that I know, she's a doula, and she lives a holistic life. Like she got her garden going. I think they got chickens over here. They got chickens over there, and so a lot of times midwives are doing things naturalistically. But so now he's lost his some of his sanity in the war. I can't imagine sanity did not crack you when your dad was unalived in a crash, and now your wife is gone. And somebody said, well, he got something to do with his wife. This is one of the comments. He got something to do with his wife's passing away too, because he ain't do nothing. And he's depressed, but he kept her pregnant. Well, she allowed herself to stay pregnant. Like, we cannot put everything on a man when we go into these situations. A lot of times aware. So all of that is enough to break you down. So now there are 5 children in you. And remember, his wife passed away in April of 2024. In May of 2025, he unalives his baby. And then Steve said June. I thought that they said 2 happened in August. But between June and August, he unalives another one of his babies. Between August and September, he unalives another one of his babies. And in latter September, he unalives another one of his babies, and that was the stepson. There was one baby left, a 3-year-old. He called 911 and told them to come get him. He had been sitting there for months. They said that the neighbors were saying that he was airing out the garage to, because by September, May is definitely decomposed. And all stock market Steve was saying was he believed that he unraveled after his wife. He finished unraveling. This is not to condone what he did. By no means is this to condone what he did. He believed that he was totally dependent on his wife. We out here trying to devalue always, all the time, devaluing one another. The man is the value, and the woman is the value, and the man is the table, and the woman is the table. When if you truly love somebody, there is a possibility that you can crack. And if you are somebody that don't even want to cry, what would prompt you to think that you're going to go get some help? If you don't even want to cry, ooh, that story was so heavy. He turned himself and he called 911. The 911, for anybody who has any kind of compassion, stock market Steve was taken aback, and so was I. And he didn't say, not once did he say, because he has wished death upon some folks that do some things. That man's whole world was crushed, and you could hear it on the 911 calls when he tells you that he has deleted 4 of his children. And he's facing 4 murder charges. And people think that you condone what they did because you find a place of compassion. No. No. That's 2 things being true at the same time. That was an impoverished mindset. That was an impoverished mindset. Because men are taught to be hard and to not cry and to say Jesus is going to help them through these things. Jesus couldn't possibly be saying, go sit down in a chair. Jesus couldn't possibly be saying, let those tears out. Who don't? Crying is for a purpose. No one is saying to go around crying all the days of your life. I'm praying for that baby because the baby is left all alone at this point. Baby don't got no mama. Baby don't got no daddy. Baby don't got no siblings no more. Baby only 3. And he said when he called 911, they was like, who was there with you? He said, it's me and my son. They said, they asked him had he been drinking, and he said he had drunk a 5th of gin. Because he just turned himself in 2 days ago. And it's from May, June, July, August, September, it's October. He just called them 2 days ago. He said, if y'all need me to come out here with my underwear on, he said, when you send the people, if you need me, I don't have no weapons on me. That would deep. So we're going to come off of something that isn't, it's not as deep, but it's still, I've never watched a Kendra G and been saddened by the guest on the show. Tiara saddened me. Tiara had 4 children, and they come up there with children and different baby daddies and everything like that. But by the end of this show, look, y'all know them tears that come that you can't. You're not broken down where your whole face is engulfed in tears, but them tears coming so hard and heavy, you got to keep doing this. And 9 times out of 10, God is keeping you at a place where it don't all come, because God understands that if it all come, Lord, I ain't gonna be able to stop. That's what I got from Tiara by the end. She had 5 children by 4 daddies. She got up there in her leather-like jumpsuit, and it was a little small. She was a thick chicken. She wound up, she had the red bra. It was a burgundy jumpsuit. Kendra wound up telling the people, saying, look like you're going to get a nip slip. So she starts pulling it up. And she said she had to come dressed ready for her man. But this is the man that you're dressing for. Remember, this is the man you're dressing for. But then you're dressing for one man, but you asking for a different man. But the man that you're dressing for see you, and the man that you're asking for sees you as well. But he is probably not going to be the man that comes into your inbox. And Kendra lets her people know that. Because you're asking for one thing, but you are expressing another thing. And then you go on to say that the D got to be right. The D. So they getting all of this. You talked about how he got to take care of, he got to pay your rent, and he got to take care of your children and things like that. So Kendra was like, well, where you work? She said, I'm unemployed. I'm on Section 8. And at that moment, when she said that, all I said was, well, Lord, been there, done that. I've been on Section 8. I'm based on your income right now. They run similarly. If you're not working, your rent is 0. You said that man, she said that man had to pay her rent. And I'm going to do you one better. That generally, with Section 8, this wasn't the case. But in my situation now, I get a stipend that helps me with my electric bill. I don't have a gas bill. With Section 8, you had to pay your own electric bill. You had to pay whatever bills you had outside of Section 8. You were going to have to figure out what you were going to do. But you had to pay them. But your rent was 0. Kendra went on to say, I thought rent, before she found out that she ain't had no rent, I thought rent was cheap with Section 8. Depending on where you stay, because the cost of living is what the cost of living is. And I know people in my state that was paying, Section 8 was paying $1 of their rent because of their income. Because Section 8, as I stated, is still based on your income. Section 8 paying $1 they rent, and their rent was over $1,000. They was paying the remainder of it. Section 8 was paying $1. You don't then, that it would be an impoverished mindset to say, I'm going to go and stop working so that my rent can be zero. That's an impoverished mindset. That's why I said poverty is not just financial. It is also a mindset of where I believe Tiara is and was grown into. It was poured into her, but you saw, and Kendra said when she came up here, I see that you wanted to make change, because she said she didn't want her babies to have multiple baby daddies, and she didn't want her babies to be on the street. She didn't want her babies to be in them streets. She said all of that in the beginning. But then comes Mama. Mama, who, when she said the D got to be right, Mama came into the camera. Mama was trying to be in the camera. It was like Mama was trying to, and Mama, I'm thinking, had been up there. There was a whole lot of people in those comments saying sometimes you got to love your family from a distance. Sometimes you got to move away from your family. Sometimes you got to cut your family off. Loving from a distance, I agree with. Sometimes you got to move out of that situation. Cut your family off. If your family is not a danger to you physically, I think loving them from a distance is good. I don't think that you should cut your family off if your family is not a danger to you physically. Because you only get one family, and you better be careful before you just say that you're going to cut family off. But her mother was 59 with 30 grandchildren, 12 of those coming from one of her sons. I don't remember how many children that they said that Mom had. But she wanted, Tiara wanted a man to come in and take her up on, and pay all of her bills and take care of her children. And Kendra went on to say, what if that man comes into your life but doesn't want to date you, or somebody like a coach or a deacon at the church or something like that? And she really couldn't understand it at first, but the more Kendra began to talk into her, to speak into her spirit, the more that she was able to understand it. She told her, you need to sit with yourself and get you together, because the better that you are from the inside out, the more likely that it is that the man that you describe that you want will then be attracted to you. Whereas the man that you are displaying that you want is going to be nothing like, you're going to keep getting a lot of what you've been getting. You wanted a man to take care of you, but the other men you were taking care of. And she said she used to work in security, but she said that she was taking care of men. So if you taking care of men, but now you want somebody to take care of you, that means that you have to change you, because I don't care how much you want to believe that you do not attract who you are. You are fooling yourself to believe that you do not attract who you are. I was just so saddened because everything about that episode screamed generational curses. Everything about that screamed generational curse. And by the end of the episode, like I said, she was crying. Real tears. Not heavy tears, but tears that wouldn't stop coming, because she kept going up to her eyes. You knew God was helping her to keep it together. It's not my desire, like, and Kendra don't like some O'Shea and them when they be at her. I'm a woman, so I'm going to understand it better, but I am going to talk about her content. She says she think you still in her content. I ain't played no videos of her or anything like that, but where there be teachable moments is my desire to teach from those moments, or to use those moments as an example. Generational curses are real. And if we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, that is sheer insanity. And if we feel like we can handle this life just lifing on us without ever calling any help into play, that is just as much of insanity. So y'all, I have enjoyed our chat. I have enjoyed sitting with you guys a spell. I feel like I've been up here for almost about 2 hours probably. My throat is dry and I done sipped a little bit of water. Um, we done talked about Cooking with Kaya going to Dubai. We done talked about Joe Buttons and Mark Lamont Hill. We done talked about Lay on the Kendra G show. We done talked about these men feeling like they just don't ever got to sit in the seat to get no help, and that is so ridiculous. We talked about this father who was totally, literally broke in his mind, literally all the way unraveled, and deleted his children. And we talked about Tiara from the Kendra G show. I just started praying for Tiara even on the show. You know, she listed her flaws. Her flaws she listed as needing to love herself more, needing to get closer to God, and know God's purpose. And so I prayed on, she said know her purpose and then get closer to God. I said, God, I'm gonna pray on the first and the last. And once she gets into loving herself more and drawing nearer to you, God, you're gonna bring that purpose down on her. I don't even got to cover that. But love yourself more. Love yourself more. Thank y'all for sitting with me a spell. Hello, beautiful. Love yourself more. If you think that you can continue to do the same thing and get a different result, that is sheer insanity. And tell this to a man in your life. Go sit down and get some help. It's okay. Cry. It's okay. Because what you can't do is think that life won't life on you because you're a man and that you can push it down and push it down. That is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. Beautiful. Sylvie loves you, and I am out.